Hello, I'm Jana, and welcome back to the Crafty Corner. Today, I'm going to be exploring the January Simon Says Stamp card making kit. Now, I've never gotten a pre-assembled card making kit before, so this is a new one for me. We're going to check out what's in this kit, and then we will be adding some Tim Holtz products to this to take this kit in our own direction. So if you'd like to see which materials I'm going to be using, go ahead and pause here. All right, let's head over to the Crafty Corner. So today we're going to be looking at the Simon Says Stamp January card kit. I have never gotten a pre-assembled card kit before, so this is going to be something new. And check this out, it comes very nicely packaged. It comes in one of these zippered pouches. It's got the little Simon Says Stamp paw on it, very cute. And I can see that we've got some Simon Says Stamp ink. Let's go ahead and see what's in here. So I'm just going to pull everything out, and then we will take a look at the things, and then we'll dive into making a card. All right, this is going to be great for storage later. Very happy with that. Okay. So in here we get some paper. We've got some metallic cardstock and some basic white cardstock. Not bad. Okay. Envelope to put a card in. Useful. Ooh, cute. Mini envelope. I like that. And let's see, we've got some Simon Says Stamp ink in the color of Aegean. That's an interesting color. I'll be interested to see how that swatches out. I've never used their ink before, so I'm not quite sure what sort of results I can expect with this, but that'll be fun to find out. And next, oh, I know these will be useful. These are a few Tim Holtz embellishments. Winter themed, we've got three of the snowflake adornments, and we have a snowflake seal. Definitely going to be using these. Absolutely love that. Okay, and over here we've got a Simon Says Stamp die and a snowflake. Oh, it's a nice shape. I'll have to try that out. And this is the big stamp set. So Simon Says Stamp clear stamp set. Lots of snowflakes, a bunch of really nice sentiments on here. Oh, that's cute. Thank you so much. I like that. And that heart is fantastic. Oh, some little border pieces and more sentiments. Fantastic. So these will be great to create with. Let's see here. Oh, looks like we have some sticky back foam pieces in the shape of snowflakes. That could be interesting. Ooh, color blend cardstock assortment? What's that? Oh, we got some pre-made backgrounds here. Oh, these are nice. I'm thinking I might do one card with these, and then another I might just do some direct stamping. That's not bad. Okay, cool. And what else? Okay. These are some deco papers from Tim Holtz. These are wonderful. I love making with these. Stick them down to a substrate and then die cut, and you already are going to have some beautiful sparkly embellishments. And this looks like some Simon Says Stamp paper that has glitter on it. Oh, this is good. The glitter's not coming off or rubbing off of my hand. It's a good sign. Okay, should be able to die cut with that. And we have some glossy accents here. Let's see, what else did I miss? There was something else rolling around. Oh, there was also a water brush, but I think that might have just rolled off the table. But water brushes are always a useful thing to have. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside, and I'm going to get myself set up so that we can make a couple of cards. So first, let's go ahead and check out this ink. I'm going to pick up a stamp, and I'm going to do a stamp, and I'm also going to do a little bit of a swatch just to see what we're dealing with here. Okay, and while we're at it, let's take out the stamps from here. I really like this set. That heart really catches my eye. But for right now, I want to just pull a snowflake, and we're going to see what this color is like. I'm just going to pull this one off here, get our stamping block, put that on here, and ink up the stamp. Okay, that's really, really loose. Huh. Oh, it looks like a pretty saturated color. Whoa, okay. Huh. Alright, let's see how this stamps. Well, all in all, it's a really nice color. It's maybe a little splotchy, maybe a little overpigmented, maybe. No. I'm going to just swipe this at the end of the cardstock and see what this does. Okay, the pad itself is really different. That's kind of, what the? It's kind of like foam, but not, I don't know. Not what I'm used to. Okay, let's see if this does anything when it's introduced to water. I'm very used to working with distress ink, so I'm used to things that are water activated. Let's see. Kind of does something. I don't know if it's supposed to do anything. That's the other thing. Let's see here. Positively saturated dye ink for smooth stamping and ink blending. Durable foam pad for transferring just the right amount of ink. Quick drying. Water activated. Okay. Properties for use in watercoloring. All right. Let's see what that does. Not a whole lot. Okay. Maybe if I put the ink directly onto the glass mat, maybe, well, maybe off to the side. Maybe then I pick the color up and watercolor with it. Okay. That picks up, so. Okay, yes, you can watercolor with it, but once it's down on the paper, it's down on the paper. So you have to smush off to the side in order to get the ink to move around. Okay, interesting. I like the color. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to create our first card. And I want to do a simple background of stamping, and then I want to do some ink blending over the top. And to draw in my favorite distress products from here, we're going to first stamp with the ink from Simon Says, the Aegean color, and then I'm going to pull in some distress inks, probably oxides, for some blending. But to preserve the color that we are featuring right here, I'm going to use some clear distress powder over the top to seal that ink in. Hopefully it's going to remain wet enough so that I can easily dump the powder right over it. But for right now, let's go ahead and pull out some more snowflakes. Just looking at how this is set up, I probably can do all of my stamping in one shot, so I'm just going to grab all of the snowflakes that I want and place them directly onto my card surface. I think this is probably going to be the most efficient way to stamp this out. Okay. Normally I would bring in a stamping platform, but it seems that the ink pad is really juicy, so it doesn't look like we'll need to do any double stamping. But the other thing is I want to quickly transfer the embossing powder right onto the ink, so the less time there is in between for it to dry, the better off we're going to be for getting that particular effect. Okay, we got a whole bunch of snowflakes, and these are very pretty snowflakes. I like these. So I'm just going to take this, I'm going to pick it up with the stamping block. Okay, take that off here, set that down, and we will go ahead and ink this up. So definitely a bit of a different stamping method, it seems. It's kind of like applying a little bit less pressure. I'm used to doing a more definitive tap, but it's a very light tap, and we're getting a very nice color payout here. I don't know, the entire platform, it feels more spongy to me, and that's really different. It's kind of throwing me off, but that's okay. Trying new things is always a good thing to do. Okay, So we've got plenty of ink on here, and I'm going to have some scrap paper set down so we can easily do our embossing as soon as I've stamped this. Okay. So got our stamp, got our paper. Let's flip this over and lay it down. And applying good firm pressure as always. All right, I'm gonna leave that right there for a moment. I've got my clear embossing powder. It's open, ready to go. I've got my scrap paper here, ready to slip underneath. All right, lifting that off. Ooh, stamping came out nice. That's awesome, but I will admire that later after I get the embossing powder on here. Okay. And it looks like the ink was still damp enough that we can get the embossing powder over everything. That is a good sign. All right, I'm going to set that down. We'll take the extra embossing powder and put it back into the jar. And we'll go ahead and heat emboss and see how that comes out. Okay, good. So I'll be back in just a moment after we heat emboss this. All right, let's see how the embossing came out. Pretty good. So the embossing is going to react as a resist for us as I ink over the top of this background. So for colors for inking over the background, I have chosen Distress Oxide Pumice Stone, Speckled Egg, and Tumbled Glass. I'm going to start with a dash of pumice stone, and I kind of want to go for a bit of a smoky type of background. All right, I'm just going to brush that on here, just using a light swirling motion. And we'll just try to get some ink on here, and then maybe we'll speckle up our background with a few water droplets. Okay, good. And next, let's go for some tumbled glass. Ooh, that is a very nice winter color. I like that. Okay, and a little bit over here. Great. Now I'm going to go in with a bit of speckled egg. Excellent. That is definitely giving me the winter background that I was hoping for. Okay, I think I just want to go over a couple of areas with a little bit more pumice stone, and then I'll be ready to drop in a bit of water. Good. So the background that I'm working on, this is some of the Tim Holtz Distress White Heavy Stock. So it will stand up reasonably well when we add a few droplets, but I like this stuff a lot for blending. Okay, now a few water droplets. There, you should be able to see from here all those droplets, and they're already reacting with the Distress Oxide, so those speckles in the background are going to show up really nicely. Okay, back in just a moment after we dry this off. And here is our background. That's all nicely dried off, and we've got some of the oxidation going on here. We've got some beautiful drops, and the color that we used in the background, Aegean by Simon Says Stamp, has held up with its integrity, and that's a really nice wintry contrast. Now let's move on to the focal point and the sentiment for this card. So for the focal point, I want to draw in the heart stamp with all of the snowflakes on it. And for this, I'm going to be using some mink ink and some foil. So we're just going to take this, I'm going to pull that off to the side for the moment, stick that on here. And I'm also going to be adding a second layer of the sparkling deco foil. So we're going to initially stamp this on some paper, and then we will put it on top of this, and we will cut out a heart to frame the stamped piece. But first, let's go ahead and take this and we're going to place that on our foundation. Since I want that part to be sturdy, I'm going to be using some of the Tim Holtz craft stock. And we're just going to stick the deco paper right to it. That'll give us a nice foundation to work off with. And the stuff die cuts really nicely. Okay, just lining that up. Good. All right, and I'll just trim off the extra bits. Maybe I can use that as an accent in another card. Okay, I've got some tonic scissors. And we'll just cut off that extra piece. Good, now I'll set that off to the side. All right, so I've got this, I'll set that aside, and now I'm going to grab some Mink ink and we're going to stamp the heart onto some paper. And after, we will run this through the Mink machine to foil it. So when using Mink ink, there are a couple of other tools that I like to include, and I learned these tips from a Tim Holtz live. So one thing very useful is a small brayer, and this one is particularly useful because it is easy to pop the roller out and clean off. So we're going to be using this mini brayer. I'm also pulling in a piece of scrap plastic that I can drop Mink ink onto, because Mink ink can easily ruin silicone mats. And it's better to have either a dedicated mat to the Mink ink, or today I'm just going to use something disposable. So we're going to take some Mink ink. I'm going to put, about a quarter's amount of ink onto my surface. And next we're going to take the brayer and we're just going to roll it through the ink. And I want to get a nice even coating all over my brayer. So as you can see, the brayer is now nicely coated in Mink ink. I'm just going to move that out of the way. I'm going to take my stamp and we're going to very carefully roll that over the top of the stamp. And I want to make sure I've got good coverage everywhere. Okay, now we're going to take that, and I'm moving quickly now because the ink is going to dry. We're going to take that, we're going to place that right here. Good firm pressure. Can't leave this too long, otherwise it will literally adhere to the paper. Pull it off, and there we go. We have our stamped image. Okay, I'm going to set this aside, and now this part is important too. Since we put Mink ink on here, there is a bit of residue, and if we go to stamp at a later date, well, we're going to end up with a bit of gunk and a mess that won't be so fun. So I'm going to be taking some Distress Archival ink cleaner. We're just going to dab that on here. And I'm going to take a cloth and we're going to clean off our stamp. There we go. And now our stamp is ready the next time we want to use it. Okay, back to the Mink. So we have our stamped image. I have already cut some foil that is going to be the right side. Now we have a dull side and a super shiny side. We want to place the super shiny side face up on top of the image that we have stamped. And I'm just going to press that down here. The Mink ink is still a little sticky, so that's good. We can already see a little bit of an outline of the image that we have stamped. Next, I'm going to take a carrier sheet. This comes with the Mink machine. Today I'm using the Mink mini version. And we're just going to place that in here. And this is going to feed through the machine. And here is the machine, the Mink. I have this set on setting number 3. I found that works pretty well for what I do. And we're going to feed our little sandwich through. So carrier, paper, foil. And I'm just feeding this in very levelly, and I'm leaving my hand here to support it as it goes through the machine. So we're just going to wait a moment while that feeds through. For Mink ink, I usually like to work on settings 3 or 4. Those I've always had success with. And bonus tip that I also learned from Tim Holtz, if you have some crinkly backgrounds that do not have embossing powder on them or distress glaze, you can also run those through the Mink to smooth them out. It's very useful. Okay, and this is coming out the other side. It's a little warm, but not too warm. Okay, and let's go ahead and see what we have. So I'm just taking that out of the carrier sheet. If this didn't fully transfer our foil onto our stamped image, that's okay. We can always run this a second time. So we're just going to lift up a corner and see how we did. Overall, I would say that is pretty good. I think we're going to run with this. All right. So we're just going to shut the Mink Mini off and we'll move that aside. And here is our foiled image. Oh my word, look at the rainbow shine on this. This is awesome. Okay, now I'm going to fussy cut out the snowflake heart and then we will add our second layer to this. There's a couple of very small spots that have some of the foil missing, but really you can't tell. So I'm very pleased with this. I'm just going to cut around the heart with just a very small white border. And I think that's going to help hold all of this together since we did end up having one edge of the stamp not come through too clearly. But adding that extra little white border will just reinforce the shape of a heart. So I'm just going to keep working my way around very carefully, and remember, turn the paper, not your hand. Save yourself a little bit of pain. Fussy cutting can definitely take a toll on the wrist, but you can save yourself some of that agony by turning your paper instead of always trying to twist your wrist into some odd contortions. Okay, and I'm just going to roughly cut that off. Good. And we'll just finish up our cuts. Now I'm thinking I'm going to be adding a few foam squares to the back of this to pop it up a bit when I add my backing of sparkly blue deco sheet. That'll give our card a little bit more dimension. Okay, and just a little trim right here, and good. Now let's bring in our deco sheet. I am going to take a white gel pen and give myself some lines just so I know what I'm doing and where I want all of my cuts to go. So just kind of giving myself a bit of a rough outline to follow. Just like that. Curve that around. And the nice thing is if I make a mistake, the gel pen is very easy to wipe off and you won't even know that there was a mistake. Cool. All right, coming around this side, coming back up. Good. And down. The gel pen that I'm using to make my marks is a Jelly Roll 10 by Sakura. All right, there's my heart. We'll quickly cut this out and then we'll get our foam squares to give our focal points some dimension. After that, we will stick down to the card and then we will turn our attention to our sentiment. I'm thinking for the sentiment, I'm going to keep it really simple and I'm just going to stamp in Distress Archival Prize Ribbon. That's a really good winter blue and it's bold and that should stick out really nicely on the card, keeping with our winter theme. Okay, almost done here. Good. All right, there is our cutout heart. So I'm going to grab some foam squares. I'm using some of the black Simon Says Stamp foam squares. These are really nice to use. I think I'm going to need 4 of these. All right, that's going to get popped there. And do I want to double layer that? Ooh, yes I do. And then I'll take 3 more and put them on here. We'll just peel off the backings to these. Oh my word, I love the shine on this. That is really cool. And we'll go ahead and place that right here. Let's bring our card base back in. Yep, I definitely like that. And we'll just take the backings off these 4 squares here. You know what? I also want to add one of the charms that we got today as well. I think that would look really nice. I'm going to place that right here. Good. Now, the question is, which charm? Kind of partial towards these at the moment. Let's see, how would I place that? Yeah, I think I want that right here, and then I'm going to run a band of blue ribbon across the base. And check that out. Perfect colors to add. This is some of the velvet trims by Tim Holtz and Ideology. Okay, and we're going to take this blue. Take that, leave a little bit of overhang. There, snip that off. Excellent. And I am going to just glue that down with some ATG tape. That's going to be the easiest thing to do. So I'm just going to run a strip right across the card, just like that. And we'll stick this down. All right. And I'll just tuck those behind for the moment. And I don't really want that part here, so I think I can just bend that a little bit and snap off that ring. I don't need the ring piece. This would be much easier with pliers, but I don't have pliers on me at the moment. But if I wiggle this back and forth, yep, just like that, that will snap it. And we'll do the same on this side. Little wiggle wobble. There. Now I just have that lovely little snowflake. All right, now I just need a dash of collage medium, and we'll stick that right here. Good. Okay, we'll place the snowflake right here. I like that a lot. You know, I really want to use the other two. We could just stick them like that. Why not? I've got plenty more of these elsewhere, so I don't feel bad at all about using some of these up. I really like these a lot, and with the way Ideology is moving right now, it's hard to predict what's going to stick around and what won't, but you gotta use your stash because you never know what's going to come out next. All right, little piece broke off, but we can just reattach that there. Just gonna turn that. Good. All right, one more, and I'll just wiggle that little top piece. Oh, there we go. Add some collage medium and place it down. All right, I really like that. That's totally worth it. That looks really cool. Okay, last thing that we need to do for this card is add a sentiment. So for the sentiment, let's see here. What are our choices? Oh, thank you so much. Love that one. That's really cute. So we're going to take that one, and I do want to grab some Distress Archival prize ribbon to stamp that in. Okay, let's move this aside for a moment. I've got a bit of scrap paper that we cut our heart out from, so I'll just use that to stamp on. Ah, much better. Much better. I'm used to just tapping this out. Oh, I really do love these. It's got the feel, but then again, Tim Holtz products were really the first paper craft and stamping products that I ever used, so that's always going to be my go-to. All right, so we're going to take this fantastic little sentiment and stamp that right here, and I think I'm going to place that just right in the middle of the heart. That's going to be perfect. Yep, thank you so much. Too cute. So I'm just going to kind of do a squiggle to cut our sentiment out. Okay, a little trim right here. Good. And a little bit right there. All right, there we go. We've got our sentiment. Let's go ahead, place that down, and that will be card number 1 completed. Oh, let's get that snowflake back. There we go. Okay, and just a little bit of collage medium on here. Place that down. There we go. Card number 1 from the Simon Says Stamp January card kit. All right, let's go ahead and play around with the die cuts and see what else we can create. Okay, for the next card, we're going to be starting with one of the bases that came with the Simon Says Stamp kit. This is the Color Blend base. So we're going to start here, and I'm going to be pulling in the stamp that has this really neat edge pattern, and we're going to be stamping that at the top and the bottom of the card. And I will be stamping with some Distress Oxide pumice stone. I just happen to have this close at hand, and oxide has a long period of open time where it is still sticky enough to hold embossing powder, so that works out very nicely. So I'm just going to stamp this side, stamp that right here. Let's see how that comes out. Not bad. And I will pour the embossing powder on right away just so I don't lose that window of opportunity while the ink is still wet. And I'm using some of the Ranger embossing white powder today. There. All right, just brushing off some of the extra little bits that are on there. Okay, not bad. Let's go ahead and we'll stamp the other side. I'm gonna try to get the bottom to line up. All right, and we'll just add a little bit more ink. I know these are foam, but they've got that nice fabric covering, so it's not overly squishy when you stamp, which is really nice. Okay, and we'll take this and I'll carefully line that up again. Wait, I wonder if the stamp is off. Okay, I'm just gonna realign that. Let's see how that goes. Oh, that looks better. Okay, and we'll stamp that here. All right, let's go ahead. We'll add the embossing powder to this as well. And then we will heat emboss. Okay, pretty good. Let's go ahead and emboss this. We'll be back in a moment after we have that all. Right. I like the way that turned out. That looks really good on this background. So we're going to set the background aside for the moment, and we're going to be pulling in these shapes. So these are already sticky back on both sides, and I was thinking that would be really fun to alter with some of the Distress glitter. I have already die cut a snowflake that we can use out of the deco tape, and this is the snowflake die that came with the card making set. I like the detail on this. It's very nice, and it looks great in the deco color. So we're going to stack a few snowflakes, and we're going to use some Distress glitter to do that. I'm going to use the die pick just to pull off a few pieces. Let's see, I want to do one of the small ones for certain. Just try to lift that up. That's good. And I do want to use the dots as well. Those will be a nice addition in the background. I'm also thinking in the background that would be a great opportunity to pull in the glossy accents, and those could add some interesting contrast to the sparkliness of the glitter. Whoop. Just want to keep my hand off of that. I want that to remain sticky. So let's see. I think we're probably going to use all of the dots. If we don't, that will be okay, because then they will be altered for later. All right, back in just a moment once we have all of these dots peeled off. Okay, we have all of our dots removed, so now I'm just going to pour the Distress glitter over the top. Okay, I'm just going to sprinkle that on, and that should stick quite nicely to the adhesive on here. All right, normally I would not think about pushing this into the surface that I'm adding glitter to, but because this is a pre-adhesed foam base, I'm not sure how sticky it is. So what I am going to do to try to get the glitter to stick is fold my scrap piece of paper in half, and I'm just going to push down, and I'm hoping that's going to get the glitter firmly stuck to the pieces that we removed. Okay. Definitely what I would not do for a card just adding a glitter accent. With this glitter, normally you like to see all the pieces and the different sizes, help give it all that extra sparkle, but for this card, I do not want a whole bunch of glitter falling off. All right, let's tap this off and see what we got. And this is one of the few times I would actually recommend flicking. Okay, that's looking good. So I am going to grab a paintbrush, and I just want to brush off the extra glitter. Oh, that seems to be sticking pretty well. Okay. Guess that works. Huh. I was hoping that the sticky back of this would be pretty sticky. Seems to be. All right, and I'm just brushing off the extra glitter so that I don't get glitter everywhere. All right, and we will dump the extra right back in the jar, and then we will start embellishing our card. Okay, putting the lid on that and pulling our card base back in. So what I want to do is, this is going to be the centerpiece, and oh, I wonder if that's actually just going to stick with just that. So I'm going to take the snowflake foam piece that we have altered. I guess I need to poke that out with a die pick. Interesting. Okay, let's see. All right, and we're going to turn that like this and stick that down. Oh, that is sticky enough to actually keep my die cut in place. Cool. All right, I like it. It's got some glitter to it. Interesting. So next I'm just going to take my dots and I'm going to add them to the card. And that's going to complete the card except for the sentiment. So we're just going to add these large, I guess, snowflake bits all over the card. Oh, that's right. And I did want to add in some glossy accents as well. Okay, well, let's get these foam pieces on here and then we will add the glossy accents. So I'm using the die pick tool kind of as a spear to get these foam pieces up. My fingers really can't reach in there and grab the pieces too easily, so this works. All right, 2 more. Let's see, you've got 4 on this side, 4 on that side. All right. 1 more. Oh, 2 more. Okay, that'll work. I like how the circles came in different sizes. That definitely adds some more visual interest to what we're trying to do. All right, now it's the last one. Great, so, oh, cool, and not too much glitter fell off, even better. All right, so next I'm going to go in with some glossy accents, and we're just going to add a few little drops here and there. And I'll just complete our winter scene. I like that. And it adds some really cool texture as well to the card. So for the glossy accents, I have found that these can take anywhere between 20 to 45 minutes to dry. It always depends on the humidity. Since I'm in lower Quebec, humidity tends to be a fairly big factor. But if you live in a place like Arizona, or maybe you're down in Texas, then drying time could easily vary. But on the other hand, if you're living someplace even more humid, possibly like Florida, then who knows? So with drying time, it's always a rough estimate, and you get what you get, and don't throw a fit. So I'm just going to keep adding these little dots. That's going to add some really nice shine to the card. It'll give some texture. We've got our super snowy background. I really love the color fade on this cardstock. This stuff is great. I like that. So in terms of my experience for the first time using a curated card kit, This is really fun. You have all of these wonderful elements that work together already in one spot. So it's really easy to get going and get into the flow of creativity. It's a wonderful way to jumpstart your creativity. Maybe like when you are in a rut, maybe you're a little stuck, you don't really know what to create. This is a wonderful way to spark creativity and create something without having to necessarily dream up all of the parts and pieces on your own. All right, one more little thing. I want to add a silver star in the center of that snowflake. I just happen to have a few of these little stars laying about from some other die cuts. So let's go ahead and use one of these. That can go right there. All right, last but not least, we need to decide what our sentiment is going to be. I'm just going to move the card out of the way so we don't mess up the little bits of glossy accents. And that bottle, that is a really nice size. I like that. Okay, so for the sentiment, let's see here. Snow much love, that's cute. Happy winter, hello winter, snow happy for you. Sending snow much love. And snow much thanks in bigger lettering. Ooh, choices. All right, we're gonna have to go with snow happy for you. I don't know, I'm stuck on the snow thing. That makes me smile. Okay, so we have that. We've got stamping block. We'll take off the edge stamp that we were using earlier and stick that back on here for later use. Okay. And I'll just pull back in that scrap paper that I had so I can get another stamped image. Oh, there we go. Here it is. And again, I'm going to be using some Distress Archival Prize Ribbon ink. I like that there's the option of the 2 different sentiment sizes. That gives you some nice variety when creating cards. All right, we'll take this and we'll just stamp it out. Okay, and for this one, I am going to pull in the mini tonic trimmer because I do want to create a little banner, so I do want some straight lines this time. Okay, good. And I'll just take my scissors and cut a little triangle and we'll have a nice little banner. One more cut. There we go. We've got our sentiment. And for the sentiment, I'm going to be placing that down here. It looks like I'll have to move one of my little snow pieces, but not a big deal. I can replace it after I've got the sentiment down. So I just want a dash of collage medium and then I can stick down the sentiment. Okay. And right here. And let's take that snow piece and put that back right there. And there we go. This is 2 cards created with the December card kit. I absolutely love the effect that we've created with these. These are really fun, and I love that there is such a wide variety of materials provided for creative use. And as you can see, I've pulled in some of my own favorite Tim Holtz elements to help decorate these cards. Thank you so much for joining me here today at the Crafty Corner. I hope that you've enjoyed this little overview and look at the Simon Says Stamp January card kit. Thank you so much for joining me here today at the Crafty Corner. I hope that you have enjoyed the overview of the Simon Says Stamp January card kit. And until next time, happy crafting.